What's up, movie lovers? Thanks for clicking on my channel. So Nosferatu is the fourth film released by Robert Eggers and is a remake of the classic horror film that is over 100 years old at this point, which in and of itself was actually an unauthorized adaptation of Bram Stoker's Dracula. The film stars Lily Rose Depp, Nicholas Hoult, Bill Skarsgård, as well as Willem Dafoe and Aaron Taylor Johnson. Before I talk about how great of a performance Bill Skarsgård gives, I just want to make sure I mention how good Lily Rose Depp and Nicholas Hoult are in the movie. Nicholas Hoult is a very sympathetic main character. You really feel for his character of Thomas Hutter, and Lily Rose Depp gives so much to the performance. I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that it's an Oscar-worthy performance. She has to do so many things in each scene, and she has to go from being very sympathetic to pretty unlikable. She has to have all these different emotions going on, and it also requires a lot of physicality from her. With these two actors in the lead, the movie does a fantastic job of getting you to sympathize with them and for you to want them to succeed and overcome this evil that is Count Orlok. Willem Dafoe is always fantastic, but one of the standout performances in this movie for me was actually Aaron Taylor Johnson. And he's really just sort of a side character, but he was the person who I sympathized with the most because he's trying to do right by his friends, but at the same time he has a wife and two kids, and he's like, I don't want all this insanity coming in and infecting my life. Undead vampires, spiritual connections, you people are insane. I'm trying my best to be sympathetic, but please, you're pushing me to my limits. In terms of how the film looks visually, this might be the best movie I've seen in theaters since The Revenant or Silence all the way back in 2016. There's so many masterful shots in this movie that really leave you thinking, how did they get this on film and stick with you after you leave the theater? You can tell that they had a lot of fun with deciding what to do with Nosferatu's shadow and making it a character in and of itself. Excuse me, I mean Count Orlok's shadow, because Nosferatu is just a demonic entity, but you know what I meant. The sound design is also incredible and fills you the feeling of dread. One scene in particular that I think scared me the most, and nothing really happened in it, was just the scene where Orlok's carriage comes to pick up Thomas Hutter, and that sense of dread is amplified by Count Orlok himself. Everyone's gonna say the same things about Bill Skarsgård in this movie. He is unrecognizable. You can't tell it's him. He is a physically imposing and horrific presence. All of that's completely true, and Bill Skarsgård definitely deserves credit, but a lot of the credit should also go to the direction, the camera work, and the sound design that really makes Count Orlok seem like this otherworldly figure of just pure death and destruction. And with Count Orlok in particular, something that I think is going to make the movie stand out and makes him be something more than just a typical movie monster is that underneath all of it, there is still a character there. If you took away everything from Count Orlok that made him an undead, demonic force of pure evil and death, and he was just a normal guy, he'd still be a real jerk. To give you a little bit of an example of what type of person this guy would be even if he wasn't a vampire, when Thomas Hutter refers to him as Sir, he gets absolutely furious and he yells at him. He's like, "You will address me as my lord, as is befitting of my bloodline." He'd be the type of person who would go to a restaurant and just start yelling at the waitstaff and making them cry because there wasn't enough, I don't know, freshly ground black pepper on his Caesar salad or some stupid crap like that. And the scenes where you have the psychic connection between him and Helen, played by Lily Rose Depp, and he's actually talking to her, he kind of just comes across like an entitled incel. Now, I want to be very clear that these aspects of his character are not the main focus. They're just little bits here and there. He is very much presented as just this unstoppable force of pure evil, but the audience is given enough hints about what kind of person he was before he became a demonic vampire so that you really do hate him. He's not just a scary villain, he's a very hateable villain. And actually about halfway through the movie, I stopped being intimidated by him and I just wanted to see him get what he deserves. He's also an incredibly physically imposing presence, regardless of any magical things going on, and that's a way that this film feels very modern and updated from the 1922 original. As iconic and as creepy as that original Max Schreck character design is, push comes to shove, if you're in a life or death situation and you have this guy backing you into a corner into his castle, I mean, I'd be really scared, but I feel like I could, I don't know, break off the leg of a chair and just start beating him back into his coffin. But Bill Skarsgård, no. You have a better chance against Mike Tyson in his prime than you do against this guy. And while I really liked this movie, I'm not ready after just seeing it one time to say that it's one of the best movies I've ever seen. It hasn't really stuck with me like that, but I do think it is the type of movie that will just get better the more and more you watch it. There's a lot of subtlety and a bunch of themes that I'm still thinking about after the fact. There are a few minor gripes I have with the movie. Nothing that sinks my enjoyment of it, nothing that's gonna make people say like, oh, this is a bad movie, but without giving anything away, without any spoilers, there are some things that the film expects you to accept as an audience member towards the end of the movie that no matter how well done a movie is, you're seeing a certain thing on screen and you're just like, yeah, I can't take this seriously right now. Since it's a remake of a classic movie and it's a retelling of Dracula, the movie is pretty predictable, but even still, the ending kind of leaves some things ambiguous in terms of character motivation or about what story is really being told. So there are things for you to ponder and think about. I think this movie will get better the more I watch it, but I also don't know how many times I'm gonna feel compelled to go and rewatch this movie. As of right now, I think Nosferatu is an excellent movie that clearly a lot of passion went into, and it does what it sets out to do incredibly well. I'd say it's an A-tier film, definitely worth going out and seeing. So those are my thoughts on the 2024 Robert Eggers directed Nosferatu, but enough about me. What did you think of this movie, and what are some of your favorite remakes we've had over the years? And if you like this video and you enjoy music, movies, occasionally some stuff regarding video games, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, all that YouTube stuff. I know it's a cliche to ask, but it really does help the channel grow, so thank you in advance for that. I have an instrumental song out called Waking Giant. There's a link down below. If you enjoy any of these bands, you'll probably like it. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you at the next video.